This is a Bloomberg Politics special report. Marco Antonio Rubio. Marco, his words.
I announce my candidacy for President of the United States.
Will he make his Marco or end up like Ned Starko? Will it be a walk in the parko, or has he jumped the Sharko? On your Marco, get set, go.
It's the Rubio episode. This presidential race is getting good. Jeb Bush, a frontrunner for the Republican nomination, is now officially being challenged by his old protege, Marco Rubio, the Florida senator who formally made his move from likely to actual presidential candidate this evening at the Freedom Tower in Miami. Rubio says he wants to make America better. So just how does he plan to do it?
We must change the decisions we are making by changing the people who are making them. And so, that is why tonight, grounded by the lessons of our history, but inspired by the promise of our future, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States.
The all lowercase logo and water sips notwithstanding, how did Rubio do?
Well, the water sip was a little unfortunate given that it evoked memories of that fateful and ill-fated State of the Union response from a couple years ago. He did good. He did well. He gave a really nice speech. He's a very good speaker. I don't think it was the best speech I've ever heard him give. He was not at the absolute top of his game, but he's a better communicator than most of the others in the field. He stuck with the biography to a large extent. He did not lay out much policy. He didn't really even cast himself as a kind of reform conservative, but he did make a generational argument. We're going to talk about that more, and told his story. Solid B plus A minus.
Yeah. He is, I think, not just one of the best speakers in the field, but probably the best speaker in the field. And it was a better written speech than delivered. He started out nervous, but this is certainly more than good enough to continue the momentum he's had this year as a guy who is having, at this point, the best 2015 of any of the Republican candidates, because Scott Walker has taken a few steps back of late.
Yeah, I mean, the only exception I'd take is I think he's a pure performer. Ted Cruz, at least in his announcement speech, did as well or better than Marco did, and so you got a couple guys who can play on the big stage there. He did well. I mean, he did well. It's strong. Not a misstep in it. No one will. There's no big gaffe, no big mistake, no big disappointment. I really want to see what happens in the days ahead before you can really measure this thing. If this is the start of a great rollout, great. If not, this could be forgotten pretty quickly.
I think this is, by the standard you and I both use, he could give this speech at the convention.
That's important.
He could give this speech as an inaugural address.
Yep.
He could give this speech in lots of different venues, and he has in the past, and he'll continue to. Very strong.
All right. We can only assume that the Rubio campaign's celebration tonight involves a whole lot of mixed adult beverages. That is, if the senator's repeated references to his father's profession in his speech are any indication.
I live in an exceptional country where the son of a bartender and a maid could have the same dreams and the same future as those who come from power and privilege. I regret that my father did not live to see this day in person. He used to tell me all the time, he used to tell us all the time, en este país ustedes van a poder lograr todas las cosas que nosotros no pudimos. In this country. That means in this country you will achieve all the things we never could.
Love the Spanish there and the reference to the immigrant story, the biography, a huge part of Marco Rubio's appeal. It's been a big part of his appeal so far, a big part of his speech tonight. But how far can that carry him on its own?
Well, I think they need to do more to burn it in. He's already written a book, and he talks about his parents, his father in particular, a lot. But I think to make it tangible to more Americans, to make it as well-known and compelling as, say, Barack Obama's family story or Bill Clinton's, he's got more work to do. But as he tells that story, and he will in living rooms in Iowa, New Hampshire, etc., it is powerful. And part of the failure of some Republican candidates in the recent past is to not wed their candidacy to ideas, wedded to biography, and Marco Rubio is lapping the field right now in that respect.
It's, David Axelrod, was always was the self-styled keeper of the narrative of the narrative of Barack Obama. It was so important and so central to his ascent. Rubio understands that, and he's filled with emotion about it. That's one of the things that so many of these candidates lack, is that just that sense of the drama that comes from the human element of where they've come from, where they're going. I don't think that you can ride that to the nomination or to the presidency alone, but it's an essential part, and he's got it.
You know, he talks about and writes in his book about his family situation, again, fused to his aspirations for middle-class economics, tax reform, and educational opportunity. That is a powerful thing to do. And even the other leading candidates in the race, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, right now, they have a harder time doing that. It's part of the strength of John Kasich, if he does run. Be able to take your own biography related to the American experience and then knit it all together with policy. It's powerful, and he showed that tonight. All right, Republicans say the Clinton campaign wants to party like it's 1999, but Rubio's campaign has got a very different idea.
Our leaders put us at a disadvantage by taxing and borrowing and regulating like it was 1999. Just yesterday, a leader from yesterday began a campaign for president by promising to take us back to yesterday. Yesterday is over. And we're never going back.
All right, so there Rubio obviously going explicitly after Hillary Clinton, but some say that the same rhetoric and same critique may work just as well against Jeb Bush. It's a kind of verbal sleight of hand that Barack Obama used in 2008 to make a broad generational argument against both Hillary Clinton and then John McCain. So, John Heilman, my question to you is this an effective piece of rhetoric for Marco Rubio to use in this campaign?
I believe that more than Common Core or immigration or any other thing, the biggest weakness that Jeb Bush has is a generational and name, and they're wrapped up together. It's a powerful critique. It was the one critique I think that could take Jeb Bush down. It's just not exclusive to Marco Rubio. He's the youngest at 43, but Scott Walker can make a version of that argument. Ted Cruz can make a version of that argument. Rand Paul can too. So Marco doesn't have a monopoly on that argument, but it is a powerful argument in the context of this nomination.
I thought one of the most conversational, powerful moments in the speech was when he said, there's some people who say I should wait my turn, but now is my time. You know, this is going to be the real crucible for him, is can he convince Republicans that it's time to turn to a new generation, someone younger, certainly than the Democratic nominee is likely to be. And I think that he did it in a way that was not self-conscious or mean-spirited, but simply straightforward and, as you said, emotional.
And I think the problem with it for him is that it's that he's been in the Senate for so little time and he looks so young. That's part of the issue, and it seems unfair to say that, but the question is he's going to have to get Republican voters to be able to imagine him as commander-in-chief at a very, very dangerous time in the world. That's going to be a reach. I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's a big challenge for him, to get them to see him with enough gravitas to be a commander-in-chief in a time of war.
Well, he simultaneously talks about basically being young and
right, exactly. All right, coming up. We put Marco Rubio's performance and Hillary Clinton's launch under the microscope with the one and only Mary Matalin. We will be right back with her.
If their American dreams become impossible, we will have just become another country. But if they succeed, this 21st century will also be an American century.
Sometimes on this program, when Mark and I talk for far too long, we play a clip of a guy named James Carville prodding us to move along to the next topic. We imagine that our guest tonight gets that a lot. Mary Matalin, the uber Republican strategist, thanks for joining us from the Big Easy, New Orleans. Mary, I know...
Yeah, but the difference is you guys feel compelled to listen to him. I don't.
Yeah, so well, yes,
I feel your pain.
There are a few other differences, too, but we won't get into that in this hour. I know you watch Marco Rubio. You're not committed in this race at this point. Tell us what you think of Marco's launch.
Well, I'm committed to a principle and policies, and this is a great launch. He has, as you all have already noted, he has the machine, he has the money, he has the motivation, but most importantly, he has the message. And in this case, the medium is the message. He is a very charismatic medium. I think Mark said that this is a speech that can also be given at the convention. However, not just conservatives and Republicans, but the country is watching now, but this is more the season of insiders, professional politicians. We're looking at from that platform, but people want policies, principles, performance. So he's got that, and he's got to add that on to this really incredible, charismatic story.
Mary, why at this time in the party's history would it conceivably turn to someone younger with less military and national security experience than the party's nominated in quite some time?
Well, since we're all of an age here, Mark, you know how politics presents certain opportunities for poetic justice. When I'm watching Rubio and Rand and Walker and Jeb and all of them, I'm put in mind of the inimitable James Carville, who said in 1992, looking at George H.W. Bush is like looking at last year's calendar. It was a generational switch, and that's what Mrs. Clinton's problem is going to be. She's last year's calendar, in addition to her other problems. So if you look at our midterm, the last several elections, over half of the House, which the Republicans control, are of the new vintage, and all the new senators, all the new names that are there, are under 45. So it's as to our party is to us now as the Democratic Party was in 1992.
Mary, let me ask you about, you're obviously a long-time both employee of at various times and friend of the Bushes in all the Bush stripes. And as we said before, you're not committed to a candidate, including Jeb Bush. But I'm curious about what you think about this Marco Rubio-Jeb Bush clash that's coming forward. This is a guy, they were very close for a period of time. He was a bit of a mentor, Jeb was, to Marco Rubio. A lot of people thought Marco would never run if Bush put himself forward. And yet Bush has put himself forward and has amassed a lot of strength in the last few months. Yet here's Marco Rubio taking him on. What's going on with that dynamic there?
Let me go to the point of motivation. Let me say I'm a loyal Bushie to the end, but what I'm most excited about, and I think I join most conservatives in feeling this way, this field is top-notch. We haven't seen a field like this since 1980. I'm not trying to make the Reagan comparison, but we will have principles, we will have policies, we won't have a clown show at the debate. And going to the point of Marco Rubio having the motivation, this is, y'all think, I don't mean you, but the Democrats think Mrs. Clinton's so inevitable and invincible. We don't think that. In the same way that the Democrats figured out in 1992 that President Bush was not invincible, even though we started the year with 91% approval rating. So that's the motivation. If there was ever, if not now, when?
Mary, if Hillary Clinton is a Democratic nominee, will she be easy to beat or hard to beat in the general election, and why?
I'm not saying this as a partisan. I'm saying it as a citizen, a mother, and having some age on me here, just for the reasons I said. She is last year's calendar. The only way you can win a third term, either party, and she's running as a third term Obama, is to separate herself but offer something different or offer the same
Mary,
thing in a better way.
You're saying she'd be easy to beat.
I say I pray that she's a nominee. I pray she's a nominee. And if she is the nominee, that will mean she had a very weak primary
Mary,
field.
say the words, Hillary Clinton will be easy to beat. Say that.
Hillary Clinton will be more than easier to beat. It will release us from our pitiful strategy of the last couple cycles of running against something and being able to run on something we have plenty of, which is principles and policies.
There, let me stick with Hillary for a second and just put aside your partisanship and your opposition to her. Just think about this as a political strategist and a communications savant. How do you think her rollout has gone over the course of this last 24 hours, from video through tweeting to now being on this road trip to Iowa? Just do a professional assessment of that rollout.
Keeping in mind that I am 60 plus, all right? I'd say her strategy is driven by the imperative of she's not a particularly charismatic character. I'm not being a partisan, and I'm not anti-Hillary. I'm a conservative, I'm a constitutionalist. I have problems with my own party right now. But when you're running that when you're the inevitable front runner so strong and you had to do such a soft launch, it says the real thing, like her structure's not put together yet, but it says the obvious, which is she's not that strong, she's not that good, and they think they're going to be able to make up for this with some sort of social media, modern internet technology that Obama was a whiz at, but I'm not sure that comports with her grandmother message either.
Mary, three names, the three most likely Republican nominees today are?
There's four. Jeb, yeah. Rubio, Walker, Rand, and Cruz. Well, how many? That's five. I can't count.
Those five.
That's why we're going to balance the budget. No, yes, and I will tell you the curiosity factor. Here's another thing Mrs. Clinton doesn't have, although she has 100% ID. No curiosity. The person I get asked most about is Rubio. Second is Walker, who people know Jeb. And the more philosophically pure people are looking at Cruz and Rand. But everybody's looking at everybody. This is going to be so much fun for you guys. You'll have 15 books out of this cycle.
You don't think, Mary, that the one thing I think that they are counting on the Democratic side is the notion, obviously a lot of things you said about Hillary Clinton have summary of truth, not all of them, but some of them. They're counting on the fact that the historic nature of her candidacy, the potential of being a first woman president will be a big deal. Quickly, just tell us whether you think there's any, you can put any stock in that.
Being the first only works the first time. We've already done that. Now we want competence, we want record, we want to go to the future. She's the first what? We want the first competent president in a long time.
Mary, I'm going to play something for you and ask you to give us the first 2 words you think of when you hear it. Ready? Here we go.
What's going on?
What do I think of? Breakfast at the Carville Matalin home.
First words you hear every morning.
Okay, that is fantastic. Mary Matalin, thank you so much. After the break, the phone call from Hillary Clinton's van and Patty Sleece Doyle and Lisa Caputo go head to head. We will be right back.
Our guest tonight is 2 guests tonight. Lisa Caputo, who was the press secretary for First Lady Hillary Clinton, is here with us in New York. And Patty Sleece Doyle, who was the campaign manager for presidential candidate Hillary Clinton in 2008, is in our D.C. bureau. Ladies, thank you both for joining us. Lisa, start with you. We just want to talk about yesterday and today and the launch. How do you think it went?
Oh, I think it went as well as could possibly be expected. I think she was incredibly relaxed. I think in the video that came through to me as very poignant, how relaxed she was, how comfortable she was. And her idea of the road trip just cracks me up, because I can totally hear her saying, let's take a road trip, and no one on the staff really understanding what that meant. I did jump on a call this afternoon, and Huma Abedin was on the call from the road, which was a lot of fun, and they were making their way and having a good time. And again, everybody is very comfortable, and it's everybody's rolling up their sleeves. There's a lot of humbleness, which I think is also terrific, and everybody's in it together, which is a great way to start.
Where did they call from? Do you know?
I don't know where exactly they were. She didn't say, but she just said they were on the road. I think she called from the van itself.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Patty, how do you think it's going?
I think it's going great. I mean, I love the video. I thought it was hopeful and fun and, you know, about the future and relatable and all those great things. And the idea of the road trip and not telling anybody about it and stopping at the gas station and talking to folks, I just love it. I think it's off to a great start.
Patty, you know that she's an optimistic, hopeful person about the future. You also know that she sometimes worries about things a little bit. Occasionally is known to fret. If there's anything she's worried about today, what's she worried about?
Running out of gas, maybe, or actually, no. She's probably worried that, you know, she gets to Iowa on time for her first events. That's probably what. If she's worried about anything, it's that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. But don't you think she's worried about Charlotte too? I think she's thinking, you know, what's going on with the granddaughter a little bit. She always finds time to worry about those things, you know, even when she's in the heat of it. But I think, Patty, you're totally right. Am I going to get there on time? Let's make sure we get there on time. Right. Where else can we stop along the way? I think she's...
Yeah, I don't know if worry's the right word for... I'm sorry, did I break in?
Go ahead.
I don't know if worry's the right word for Charlotte. It's just more like, what's she doing? You know, what's Chelsea doing? What did she do today? I don't know if it's worry more than, you know, I want to be there.
Patty, you think she's watching the press coverage, reading the press coverage, wanting to know how it's being covered, or not caring about that?
I don't think she's watching it because she's in a van. I think she's probably asking Huma to tell her how it's going, as opposed to actually reading it. I think, you know, I think she's really focused on going to Iowa, talking to voters, really. I don't, you know, no offense to you guys, I don't know if she much cares what you're saying at this point.
Wow.
I think what's interesting about this, and Patty knows it all too well, because she was at the helm in 2000 in the Senate race for a good part of it and played such a pivotal role. But you're seeing a lot of what was so successful for Hillary Clinton in 2000 now at the beginning of this race, which is, yes, she's very substantive, has a lot of policy ideas, but she's not going out there front and center with them. Rather, she wants to have a conversation with voters. She wants to hear what's on their minds, hear what their struggles are, hear what their ideas are for potential solutions to issues, and kind of formulate as she goes. And I really do fundamentally believe she's going to try to earn every single vote in a hard-fought way. Nothing's going to be taken for granted.
I want to ask you, you lived through 2008. The idea in 2008 that Hillary Clinton would have ever said the words, "Hey, I want to get in the car and drive to Iowa," would not have been words you would have kind of thought came out of her mouth. Well, Iowa was not a state that she loved in quite the same way she loved a lot of other states, and she suffered there. How do you think what do you think her psyche is about going back to that state, given everything that happened last cycle?
2
cycles ago.
Look, 2 cycles ago. It's no secret. We were definitely out-organized in Iowa, but she did get a lot of the traditional caucus goers, and I think she had a lot of respect for, the way Iowans really like to kick the tires. So I think she's going back there now thinking, okay, I know what to do now, and she's going to do it, and that she's going to really spend time with voters. I think if she thought she could have gotten in a van and just driven around, she would have. But I think our campaign back then was really about, well, we've got all these press that need to cover you. And I think this time around, she's just like, I don't care. I'm just going to do it my way. And it's refreshing.
I think that's so right. I think that's what's different this time. I think she's learned from the lessons of 2008. I think, she's digested a lot of it. She's analyzed it, and she's going at this the way she wants to go at it. And it's not like she has to prove herself in terms of her capabilities. People, I think she's, capable based on her experience. Now she's just going to go be, the candidate that she wants to be. Long ago, the Raging Cajun used to say, she's a thoroughbred, let her run, and let her be herself. And that's spot on, and that's exactly what I see here. I saw the comfort in the video. Let's take the road trip. Let's stop at Chipotle. Let's stop at the gas station. She's tweeting, which I love, and signing it, -H from the gas station. So I think it's just so different this time, and it's really very real.
Thanks to Lisa Caputo and Patty Solis Doyle, and we'll be back after this.
Today we were on the tube a whole lot more than a half an hour, David. Tomorrow we're only on for a half an hour. And Kelly Ashby Paul, the wife of Rand Paul and one of his main political assets, will be live on our set with us. We're looking forward to that.
Thanks for watching. Big day in politics. Big day tomorrow. For the third and final time today and tonight, we say to you, sayonara.